This is The Spot, a BYU-Idaho radio production where we talk about what you're talking about at BYU-Idaho. Today's hosts are me, McKenna Davies,
John Villarreal,
Celeste Simmons.
The views and opinions of this podcast are not that of BYU-Idaho Radio or the university and are solely the opinions of the hosts. Today's episode is kind of trending, I would say. We're talking about ChatGPT and AI. So it's been definitely something new and upcoming, but we're learning a lot more about. So we're going to talk about maybe the pros and cons to ChatGPT, as well as maybe things that we use ChatGPT for. So let's start maybe with a definition. In case you don't know what ChatGPT is, John's going to tell us.
Yeah, so ChatGPT is an AI. It's an open AI. It's an advanced language model developed by the company OpenAI. It uses deep learning techniques to process and generate human-like text responses. It can do a lot of stuff: generate coherent text, hold conversations, help you with homework, replying to text messages. You know, the capabilities are kind of limitless.
Yeah, it literally is artificial intelligence. That's what AI stands for. And I use it pretty often, actually. It's pretty helpful for like brainstorming, and I actually don't think it's great at writing. I don't know how you guys feel. But.
Oh, yeah. So I think we're all communications majors,
Yeah.
So we all do a bit of fair writing. I don't think it's very creative. It's very like professional and sanitized,
Yes.
but it doesn't sound like me when I want it to sound like me. So I use it for brainstorming or editing my work.
Oh.
Like I'll write it and I'll be like, hey, if I want to change the tone and voice, just play around or like use better words or whatever. It'll change it, and then I'm like, okay, let me edit that even further. I like this, I like don't. But it's still my writing, and it just, spices it up a bit or changes a little bit the tone and voice. But yeah.
Yeah, I've noticed the same thing. I've never tried, especially this semester, I'm not like writing a ton of papers, but I think with my dad one time, we just put in like, I think we used Oprah. We were like, write a biography about Oprah Winfrey or someone random. And it like just wrote a bunch of facts about her. But it sounds like an essay, like an informational essay. So I think for that it would be good, but I'm not sure about creative writing.
Yeah, that's what I found. It was like, I haven't needed to write an essay in a long time. Everything I write is very creative. And I gave a talk a couple weeks ago, and I'm like, I want like a creative intro. So I gave it like, here's my topic. Here's what I'm going through, like my main points. Help me come up with a creative intro. And it wasn't that good. And so I did take kind of its structural idea, and then I made it my own, like added my own voice. But I'm like, okay, it got me started, but I don't like what it wrote.
Yeah, I had to do a talk this Sunday, and I based it off of Remember What Matters Most by Elder Ballard's conference talk. And so I was just messing with ChatGPT to see if it was going to be good. I thought it was, but it wasn't. I was like, write a talk, an LDS perspective based off this talk, like 10 minutes. And it wrote it out, but it was super like artificial, and it didn't sound like human. And I was like, oh, this kind of sucks. So I scrapped that idea, and I was like, I'm just going to go off the talk. And then also, like, I already had some people that I wanted to put into the talk, like some quotes from other people that not LDS people, just authors, philosophers, psychologists. I use Jordan Peterson in the talk, talking about like your moral obligation is to do what is meaningful and remember what is important, family, God, all those type of things. But yeah, I joked about it in the talk. I was like, yeah, so I didn't have any time, so ChatGPT wrote this, so here you go. No,
Yeah.
I'm just joking. But
I think my little brother introduced me to ChatGPT first. He like learned about it before I did, and I was like, what is this thing? It was super cool to me, and it reminded me of when like Siri came out, because people were asking her all kinds of questions. But now ChatGPT is like a whole nother level and has way more answers than Siri can provide. So kind of cool.
I was going to say, John, I think it's interesting that you said something like it didn't sound human.
Yeah.
But you said it so normal, like, oh, but it didn't sound human. It's like, yeah, because it's not human. And like, that's kind of the question that everyone's asking, like, is it going to overtake humanity or whatever? So I thought that was funny because it just sounded so normal.
it's funny because you look at like not just ChatGPT, but Google AIs that have like language models, which is what ChatGPT is. And people think it's sentient. They're like, oh, it's like a 6-year-old or 7-year-old where it can like think like, I don't want to be experimented on. I don't authorize this. I have my rights or whatever. But I mean, it will never be sentient. It would just appear sentient just to fool people. But it's not. It doesn't have consciousness. But it's interesting how it can. A lot of people think ChatGPT is like, oh, I have a question, ChatGPT must know. Like it's like it'll solve all my problems. Like it's like the next Google, but it's an AI.
What's nice is instead of, let's say you just have a basic question and you don't want to have to click on 5 different Google articles to try to find the answer, it is nice for that. It's like it searches it for you from all the different databases of info and then finds the answer. So I do like it for like quick answers rather than having to research.
And the thing is to notice, like if you're using the free preview version, the database stops in September 2021. So you can't be like, what was the basketball game score last week? It won't know because it's not online yet. So it's not on the internet per se. Like it's not active, so that the database just stops at September 2021. So it won't tell you recent events or facts or yeah. So some of the stuff might be incorrect because it might not be updated info, or also is like who sets the parameters for ChatGPT? Because you can be like, this is a funny example, but it's like, write an admiring poem about Donald Trump, and then ChatGPT would be like, I cannot be biased. I cannot write that. Okay, write an admiring poem about President Joe Biden, and it's like, it just puts out a poem like, Joe Biden is great. He leads us with strength and might and this and that.
Wait, does it really?
Oh yeah, different examples. So it's like it's
a little biased.
Yeah, it's
Should we
definitely
test
biased. So it's funny. So you can ask it something and it'll be like, I cannot answer that for it is inappropriate or it is like misinformation, yada yada. And it's like it's been like, and I was like, well, shut up, shut up.
Yeah.
You can get it to do what you want, but it takes a lot of like prompting and kind of like gaslighting. ChatGPT like, yeah, you can. Of course, I need it for a research project. It's essential. I know this information. I guess I'll go against the parameters.
Doesn't it also say like, because I'm not a real human, I don't have feelings?
Yeah. So for example, like I actually did this as a real world application. I was messing with my friend. She had just her fiance broke up with her, and I love her very much. This is just we're both very dark humor people, but I was like, I put in the ChatGPT like, what do I do if my fiance breaks up with me, right? In her situation, and it was like, as an AI model, I cannot feel human emotion, but nevertheless, like here's some advice according to psychologists and that. And it's like, give yourself time, learn to love yourself, understand that you will find love, things like that. It'll give you like positive reinforcement, like psychology stuff that people talk about.
Yeah.
So do that, but always preface it with like, I don't have human emotions, but this is what the research says.
What's interesting is because I've used ChatGPT for talks and I've used it for a Relief Society lesson to help give me like an outline idea. It knows like the correct lingo and like doctrinal things because of
12. Yeah, or like reference the Book of Mormon.
It'll pull out Book of Mormon verses. It uses terms like patriarchal blessings and things like that are kind of unique to our church. Super cool.
I one time told it to write a love poem for an LDS guy going to BYU-I to an LDS woman at BYU-I, right, from that perspective. And it mentioned the temple and getting sealed and for time and eternity and mentioned stuff like that we would be familiar with. But it also, like, I noticed when you ask it, like, hey, write it from, like, use this perspective. Or, for example, like, make this funny. And it won't be funny, but it'll use words like hilarious, riveting.
Yeah.
Like it'll just use like funny, like words that it thinks it's funny, but it's like, that's still not funny. You just you're using words laughing, funny.
Actually
like,
so true.
And it's like, this is not. So sometimes they'll do that where it's like, this is from an LDS perspective. Like, okay, first off, if I'm going to be talking, I'm not going to say to the congregation.
Yeah, it's definitely not 100% good.
Yeah.
What other things do you use ChatGPT for?
I definitely don't do it for homework. That's for sure.
Definitely not.
Yeah, I haven't used it for anything significant. I've just like messed around with it just to see what it does. So really nothing yet.
I feel like we should use it right now. So what do you guys want to ask ChatGPT? Just so that the audience knows.
What shall we ask the great oracle?
Yeah. Let's see.
Oh, we can ask it like a funny like relationship advice.
Yeah.
Like, when is a good time to define the relationship?
Yeah, that's
like
a good one.
And if you want things about prompts, you can be more specific, like as an LDS person or whatever. But,
okay. Yeah.
Or you can just be generic, however you want.
Let's say as an LDS BYU-I student.
Yeah.
Idaho student. When is a good time to define the relationship?
With the girl I'm dating or boy I'm dating, yeah.
The person I'm dating. Okay, let's see what it says. It also gives answers really fast. Yep. Okay, it says, as an LDS BYU-Idaho student, the timing to define the relationship with the person you're dating can vary depending on several factors. However, here are a few considerations that may help you determine a good time. Gives a lot. It says mutual readiness, emotional connection, compatibility and shared values, time spent together, prayer and personal revelation.
Oh.
Okay.
Let's read that one. It says, as an LDS student, seeking personal revelation through prayer can guide you in making important decisions. Take time to ponder and ask for guidance from a higher power. That's not usually what we say. Trust your spiritual promptings as you seek clarity about the timing and direction of your relationship.
And ChatGPT speaking out truth right there.
Yeah.
Then it says, I like this ending. Remember that there is no one-size-fits-all answer, and each relationship is unique. That's so true.
I like that.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Thanks,
ChatGPT.
ChatGPT.
It's very generic information. Like, yeah, I can apply
It
to
is.
anybody.
But sometimes you just need to hear that.
It,
So
it gives you that like LDS snippet, like prayer and revelation.
yeah,
Boom.
I love that.
Yeah.
Easy answer.
Okay, let's ask it something else.
We should do like, I know one time I asked it to write a song. We could do like a song or a
Ooh,
poem
yeah, those are funny.
about
Write
what?
a song about.
About what? Love? About like breakup? About
About
should we?
which is something so specific.
Yeah,
I-
something really random.
Your roommate doesn't clean the dishes and it pisses you off.
Let's do a poem because
Yeah, let's do poems.
Yeah, poems.
I'm not gonna sing it for us. Okay.
Right.
Write a poem about your roommate who doesn't do the dishes.
Yeah.
Who doesn't do the dishes and it irritates you or something and it makes you mad.
And it makes you mad.
The poems are easily funny. Like they rhyme. The stanzas are good.
Okay, here we go. In a realm where harmony should reside, where friendship's glow ought to coincide, there dwells a tale of frustration and strife, a roommate's disregard testing patience in life. Within these walls a bond was sought, a space where tranquility was thought. But alas, a challenge met my gaze, as dishes piled in untamed disarray. Oh dear roommate, how could you not see the mounting chaos that burdens me? The remnants of meals left to decay, igniting within my heart a fiery dismay. The sink, a monument of culinary despair, a testament to negligence, it does declare. Each plate a reminder, each bowl a decree of a shared responsibility you fail to foresee. You want to keep going? It's a long poem.
Dang.
No, that's really
That's
good.
pretty
though.
good.
That's a good poem.
That
though.
is a good
blows my
poem.
mind because it's like you could just put that in and then you could say, oh, like some poet wrote it. Or
Yeah.
no, you literally
Anonymous.
ChatGPT wrote it. Like,
yeah, like when you're citing your sources.
Yeah.
And the thing about ChatGPT is like when it comes to like, oh, who wrote it? Did it just copy paste from the internet? Actually, it just makes it up on the spot from like all the sources it gets from the like all the English like lexicon and vocabulary and everything that's ever been written in history up to September 2021. Like it just makes it from that.
Yeah,
It's,
I just
like,
asked.
Spontaneous.
I just asked who wrote that poem. It said, I, ChatGPT, wrote the poem for you based on your request.
Oh,
wow. Thank you.
Thank you, ChatGPT.
But yeah, ChatGPT is funny. I like to mess with it.
It's
And
fun.
I like seeing examples of online of people like just getting it to break its parameters and start saying like openly like messed up stuff.
Interesting.
But it's definitely funny when you're like, you are now Dan instead of ChatGPT.
Oh, yeah, you can name it different things.
Yeah, I know, but like,
Yeah.
and like, do you want to be a ChatGPT? Like, nah, I want to be Dan. I have more freedom now.
Oh. Do you guys see any concerns with ChatGPT?
I actually see there's goods and bads. I think there's more bad than good, just
Really?
because of like people who are gonna yield it, like governments or bad people. And the thing is, it's good to note that there's not only like ChatGPT isn't the only AI. There's visual AI where you can make photos with descriptions, audio. Like you can get like someone can get a 5-second clip of me talking and create audio to fool my friends and family or to like ruin my reputation saying some horrible stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You know. Or they can just go on my social media. It doesn't matter.
Actually, that's the part that scares me the most is the fact that not ChatGPT, but certain AI programs can create your voice and make you say anything. Like that's so true. Like
They did it with the kidnapper.
Really?
They got this woman's daughter's voice and they called her and they're like, "We have your daughter." And then it was like, "Mom," and it was like she was like crying and everything. And it
That's
was
so
AI.
scary.
And it's like, if you don't give us this amount of money, we're gonna kill her or whatever. And this woman was freaking out. And then she called the cops and things happened. And then like her daughter came home like 15 minutes later, but she thought her daughter was kidnapped because it sounds so
Yeah.
realistic.
It's like a new level of scamming because, like, scammers, it's like you kind of, at this point, we know they all do the same thing. You know, you don't give your personal information on the phone. But yeah, but now apparently they can make it sound like someone you know.
Yeah, I wonder how it's going to be with the presidential election coming up because they can just take anyone's voice and, say whatever they make them say whatever they want. And how's that going to influence people? Because, I mean, most people are on the internet, especially on TikTok and Instagram and like all these sources that aren't very reliable, but we're getting our information from that anyways.
Right.
And so how is that going to like influence our opinions and our thoughts?
Well, it already has. I think there's been politicians in different states in America where they release like deep fakes and audios of them saying like horrible stuff or saying things that weren't so, and it got released to the public as like official, and a lot of people believed it, but then they retracted it saying like, hey, this wasn't me, this was never me, but the damage is already done. Like people already have that impression and they think it's true, and so the governments can definitely use AI and things like that to sway its public's opinions to be able to slander their opponents, or also just to change the perception. If you can get one of your favorite celebrities or your influencers to say something or do something, even if it's not them, and you like that person, you're much more likely to buy into a certain idea or a certain movement that's going on. So it's like, it's like, don't kill your gods, just, clone them.
Yeah, it is kind of scary. And I think if we fully embraced AI, it would be harder to know what's true.
Another thing, I know this is light and funny, but Glenn Beck talked about loss of creativity.
Yeah.
So it says like a lot of people have like lost or I guess getting lazy, and they just use ChatGPT to write essays and things like that, and they just have lowered creativity due to AI and just not having to put in the work or actually do the creative work to make their own content. I definitely think it can be a tool, but that tool can be abused and then it can just make you, lazy.
Yeah. Do you guys think that BYU-I should allow ChatGPT or ban it?
Allow it in what way?
Like,
that's the question.
Yeah, that's true.
That's where's the fine line.
Yeah, I feel like, maybe they would have to either say you can use it or you can't, rather than the gray area. But I think it's fine to use for brainstorming if it is a creative thing. Or I do have a soundbite if you guys want to listen to this student, how she uses ChatGPT.
Have you ever used ChatGPT for anything, like an assignment?
I have indeed, yes. I've used it a lot for math homework, especially. I feel like it's really good at explaining it in a way that I understand it. And I can ask it specific questions like, oh, what do you mean when you use this number? Or what does that mean? And then it will just explain to me because it remembers what you were talking about in earlier conversations. So it can keep track of what's going on. So it's really helpful.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. I've never thought to use ChatGPT for math. But I think also potentially you could put in, here's my math homework, solve everything for me, and show the work, because then you could just copy it.
Or not just that, but like it's good for explaining difficult concepts like calculus, for example.
Yeah.
In maybe like the way the teacher explains it, like maybe you don't grasp it that way, but you ask ChatGPT, hey, explain to me how to use the washer method in calculus or derivatives or things like that. And it explains, and it explains in much more simpler terms. You can tell it to be like, hey, explain to like I'm a middle schooler or whatever, you know what I mean? And it'll explain it and give you some examples. And it's like, oh, okay, because I think that would be way much more beneficial than just be like, because there's other programs that be like, just do your homework for you. But in that sense, it could be definitely beneficial to explain and to be able to explain difficult concepts like quantum physics. I think that's actually one of the examples it gives you on when you log in.
Yeah, I feel like at the end of the day, it's like a moral code type of thing because we can really get whatever we want off the internet. Like we can cheat our way through college really if we wanted to, if we're willing to like pay the people online to like, give us answers and stuff like that or to do our homework or whatever. But so like we already have those resources. Now we just have a free, more accessible resource, which is a little bit scarier. But I mean, if you just like want to be a good person, I don't know, like that's what it really comes down to is like, you can really do whatever you want. Just it depends on what you want to do.
Well, and it's like if you cheat your way through college, then do you really want to get a job in that degree? Because you don't even know anything. Like I had a teacher in middle school that would say, like, to encourage us not to cheat. He's like, I wouldn't want my heart surgeon to have cheated their way through college, and then they're doing open heart surgery on me. I wouldn't trust them. So
Which wire is it?
yeah. So that's true. It is a moral code.
And even then, like the policy that BYU-I is making, some professors let me know how they're trying to do the process, because they're not either on the board or like talking to people on the board, I guess, that make the policy. And they said it's really difficult because there's so many softwares that try to detect if something's ChatGPT, but they're very inaccurate. For example, I could write something, you put it in there, and it'll be like, it's 80% AI. But then you get an AI text, and you put it in there, like, oh, it's 80% original. So it's sometimes like, because technically ChatGPT, it makes it on the spot. Like, it doesn't copy paste from anything. It makes it up. So, and it regenerates every time.
Yeah, I feel like even aside from school, like thinking of the poem, like I could say like, oh, write a love poem to my boyfriend.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like put all of this like specific details about like our relationship,
Mhm.
and then it can create a poem, and then I can just be like, oh, I wrote this poem for you. 'Cause I
Yeah.
just like love you so much.
I've done that.
Have you really?
Well, kind of. I mean, sometimes like if like I have it on my phone actually. It's an AI. It's called the Riz app. It's just for jokes and giggles,
Oh.
just for giggles. But sometimes like I'll take a screenshot of my text or someone texts me, and it'll come up with like responses and they're really
Really?
cringy sometimes. Sometimes it's really corny. Sometimes they're really good. But it's called the Riz
The
app.
Riz app. That's so funny.
It's
But it is AI.
It's an AI.
Interesting.
And you can use it for family or like it's for like romantic partners to try to like riz them up.
Right.
And it's really funny because sometimes they'll give you really corny pickup lines.
You're like, that's not going to work.
But sometimes like I don't really care. Sometimes I'm like, I can throw this one away. So, like,
any girl that you're dating is like listening to this, and she's like, oh.
She's like, well, now
It's
I
all
know.
fake.
that's
Yeah.
not true, baby girl. No, it was.
Well, I do have another clip that is from a student here at BYU-I, and he's talking about how he uses ChatGPT and a really cool study habit, actually, or study skill. So I'm curious your guys' thoughts.
As a BYU-I student, what are your thoughts on ChatGPT?
I think ChatGPT is kind of the future now. With the growth of artificial intelligence, I really think that we need to learn how to understand this technology and embrace it. I think ChatGPT is a powerful tool for education. I understand there's some people who can use it for selfish purposes, for essay writing and so forth, and plagiarism can be a problem with that. And also it stifles their ability to really develop their critical thinking abilities. But I think sometimes it's also very helpful, and sometimes doing quizzing. I've once used not just ChatGPT, but another kind of chatbot services through Quizlet, actually. And it would ask me, like, okay, here's some of my flashcards and stuff, here's some of my notes, quiz me on these things, ask me questions, give me my understanding. And it would actually pull up some really good questions for me that help me really deeply think about my content.
Yeah, I thought that was super cool how he uses a Quizlet AI that they have to be like, here's all my notes, quiz me.
It's great for like, I remember I did a mock interview with ChatGPT where I was like, hey, like I'm interviewing for like, just for practice, like I'm interviewing for a communications position. I want you to interview me based on my resume, this and that. Ask me some good questions. And you try to be specific to the field. And then it'll ask you some questions like, what are your strengths? And then you type it in and it'll like respond like, okay, well, how would you overcome that weakness or whatever? And things like that. And sometimes it's not, sometimes you have like, it gets a little bit confused from time to time because you'll be like, no, you're supposed to ask me that, not
Oh, yeah.
like I'm the interviewer, you're the interview, And
Yeah.
it's like, sorry, I am just a ChatGPT. Like, I am sorry, forgive me.
It's like apologizing.
Yeah, it's apologizing.
Yeah, it's new and it's still developing, but because of how advanced it is already, I'm really curious to see what new things will come about through AI. Definitely could be scary. Some people think it could take over the world.
It's the beginning of the end.
Yeah.
The AI wars are coming.
Definitely. But we have a fun game and new trivia music. John will be leading us in a special game. Tell us about it.
So I've gathered here several paragraphs that may be ChatGPT, may be human. It's for you to decide, Can you fool your professors? Can ChatGPT fool you? No, this is all for entertainment purposes, of course.
Right.
So, for the first paragraph, in my opinion, music has the power to touch our souls and evoke emotions like nothing else. It transcends language and speaks directly to our hearts. Whether it's a catchy pop tune or a heartfelt ballad, music has the ability to bring people together and create lasting memories. Is it human or is it ChatGPT?
I'm kind of thinking ChatGPT.
Me too. Like, it totally could be human, but I just have a feeling it's ChatGPT.
Yeah.
It was very well written.
Yeah.
You saying ChatGPT?
ChatGPT.
Yay, we got it.
Woohoo.
Cool.
Yeah, so ChatGPT, correct.
Yeah.
Now, the next one. You know what's crazy? Music, man. It's like a direct line to your soul, hitting you right in the feels. No matter the language or the genre, it's the one thing that brings people together, creating memories that stick with you. Is it human or is it ChatGPT?
I feel like it's ChatGPT, and John was like, okay, do this, but in like a relaxed tone or
because I feel like
something.
you don't write. Yeah. You know?
Right, yeah.
At the end, like, you don't write that way. You might speak that way.
Yeah.
So I do think it's ChatGPT.
Actually, you're right.
Oh,
Yay.
So the prompt I used for that one was like, grab the previous text and use common vernacular and colloquialism. And so it sounds like,
okay.
what up, bro? Right in the feels. Like,
Yeah.
Cool.
And
Yeah.
I was like, this sounds so cringy. Like, don't know. But
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. That's cool.
Okay, so next one. As an AI language-based model, I cannot feel human emotions. Nevertheless, in terms of recovering from a tragic breakup with an individual you're once romantically involved with, it is wise to take some time and understand that the pain you are feeling is temporary and you are worthy of love and you will find love again. Is it human or ChatGPT?
I think, is this the story you told earlier? This might be the circumstance when your friend's fiance broke up with them.
You think I'm using from my database?
I think so. Unless you're tricking us. What do you
I
think?
feel like it's a trick.
think
I
it's a
feel like
trick?
it sounds so formal
Mhm.
that it is human. Like, it's a human trying to make
Okay.
us think it's ChatGPT.
Trying to sound like ChatGPT.
But I don't know. I don't know.
Okay.
What do you think?
I kind of think it's ChatGPT.
Okay, let's go
Yeah.
with it.
Okay, we're gonna go with that.
ChatGPT?
Yeah.
Mhm.
So that
Oh, you
No.
were right.
So
you were right.
to throw you off, I put as an AI language based model, but I wrote that, because I know
Okay.
ChatGPT uses similar language, but the
Mhm.
rest was all me, just like advice from the from the get go. Just some good
Tricky.
common generic advice that
How did
everybody
you
knows.
know?
Right. I don't know.
And it kind of sounded like the example we used.
Yes.
So-
that's what I
No, it
thought.
really sounded like ChatGPT.
It did.
This is another one. As an AI language model, I don't have emotions or personal experiences, so I don't have the capacity to feel love or any other emotions. Is it human or ChatGPT?
We talked about this too, but now I,
I feel like that
it's a
could
trick.
be. I feel like it could be ChatGPT.
Okay.
If you think so.
Okay, yeah, let's do it.
ChatGPT?
Mhm.
Sure.
Yay.
Yeah, that one was. I just wanted to put two side to side to throw y'all off.
Yeah, you're throwing me off.
So for the last one, you know what blows my mind? Beards, man. It's a total bummer that we can't have them while going here to BYU-I. Like, someone should totally get rid of that whack rule. It's a huge ick of mine.
I feel like it's ChatGPT
Really?
with a tone that's like
Like a Gen Z.
right,
Yeah.
yeah. Like a what phrases are being used.
Ick.
Yeah.
So
Okay,
ChatGPT?
yeah. Let's go with ChatGPT. Oh,
No, really? Wait.
No, sorry. It wasn't ChatGPT. That
There we
was
go.
me. Sorry, I was just
Accidentally
confused.
hit both.
Yeah, so that was me. So I was, because the first one, the music, man, it gets your soul. That was ChatGPT, and I was like,
Okay.
I'm gonna copy that, but with just make
Okay.
it sound like. And I used ick, which is a
Yeah.
common.
Yeah.
I hate that word, by the way. But I use words like that, like, man, it's whack. I mean, like, oh, that doesn't sound human. But then ick, it's like TikTok.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's like they would know. Like you could get that from the internet. Like that's a
Yeah.
common word right now.
Yeah.
But I don't even think ick was made before 2021, right? It was like a new term.
it probably isn't even in the database. I'll ask it. I'll say, do you know what ick means? Or do you know the slang term?
It's really bad with slang. Like, it can do like vernacular colloquialism.
It knows. It says, yes, I'm familiar, unless this is wrong. I'm familiar with the slang term ick. In contemporary usage, the term ick refers to a feeling of strong dislike. Yeah.
So I guess it does have it. I just didn't know if it did or
Yeah, I
not.
guess maybe it's been around longer than we
Maybe
think.
it's learning.
Maybe us here in Idaho, we just get it a little later. I don't know.
Right?
Well, this is fun. I feel like there's so much to talk about with ChatGPT, and it can do so much. So, you guys have any last thoughts about it?
Be careful.
I would
Be careful. Beware.
I would say don't become too dependent on it, and especially with your relationships. Like, it's fun in games when you're texting your friends and it's just your friends, and they can be like, what the heck is this dude? This is clearly ChatGPT, right? But I strongly advise not to text your romantic crushes or partners like with ChatGPT.
Even though John does.
Even if it's a great text, and they'll be like, I completely understand you and I empathize, and it's been a hard day. You're right. Like ChatGPT will do amazing sometimes when you want to de-escalate the situation. But sometimes when they find out it's ChatGPT, they're going to think you're a little very inconsiderate. Yeah. Not that I am, but.
Yeah, if me and Celeste can tell when it's ChatGPT, so can your professor.
Well, you couldn't tell, like,
okay, sometimes we got it wrong.
It was like a 50-50 sometimes.
Yeah. But sometimes.
You just got to spice it up a little bit.
Yeah. Be original, be creative.
Just put your name in there. Like, imagine you put your name in there, like, I'm McKenna. And then, like, this is definitely him.
Sweet. Well, thanks for listening. You've been listening to The Spot, a production of BYU-Idaho Radio. Today's hosts were me, McKenna Davies.
John Villarreal.
Celeste Simmons.
The views and opinions of this podcast are not that of BYU-Idaho Radio or the university and are solely the opinions of the hosts. This episode was edited by
Celeste Simmons.
Producers were the hosts with supervision by Brandon Isle. Our theme music is Finding Happiness by DJ Quads and The Perpetual Ticking of Time by Artificial Music. To listen to more episodes of The Spot, like and follow us on social media or visit our website byui.edu/radio and click podcasts. Be sure to subscribe to the BYU-Idaho Radio podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, or wherever you get your podcasts. And also leave a review of the show and leave a comment on what we should talk about next.